Year 1931. Life in Stockholm goes on as usual. The city's residents, aside from their worries about work and the financial stability of their families, enjoy walks, meet up with friends, take an interest in culture and art, explore the latest technological advancements, and spend their leisure time in parks, attending concerts and exhibitions. New fashion trends, favorite melodies, thrilling films, and sports records are all part of the city's vibrant life. New scientific discoveries are being made. In the United States, a new planet was just discovered and named Pluto. Every morning, cheerful songs calling for morning exercises play on Swedish radios. These radio shows are hosted by the famous Bertil Gustafsson Uggla, a Swedish athlete, Olympic medalist, and world championship winner. Lili Lindström, a resident of Stockholm, turned 31 in 1932. She lived in the Altus neighborhood at 11 St. Eriksplan. Lili rented a small apartment here. Neighbors jokingly referred to her as the call girl, not only because of her occupation, Lili was a prostitute, but also because she was the only person in the entire building who had a telephone at the time. Lili's life didn't seem to have any extraordinary details, and no one would probably have heard of her if not for a horrific event. Lili, whose maiden name was Larsson, married a local businessman and took his surname, Lindström. They later divorced, and in 1922, at the age of 22, she moved to Stockholm on her own and began working as a prostitute. In Stockholm, she rented an apartment in the Atlas area, where housing was considered affordable at the time. The neighborhood was above marginal, but certainly not elite. Lili had no children, though she left behind many relatives in Malmö. Her mother, Tilda Larsson, Natel, lived to the age of 89 and passed away on April 23, 1967. Between 1900, when Tilda was 24, and 1912, she gave birth to 8 children, with Lili being the eldest. In 1902, Lili's brother Fritz Gunnar Rudolf Larsson was born, followed by her sister Theresia Ingeborg Larsson in 1904, Tina Linnea Larsson in 1905, Hans Ludvig Larsson in 1907, Clara Olivia Larsson in 1908, Olaf Tage Larsson in 1911, and Signa Augusta Larsson in 1912. Lili's father, Franz Larsson, died in 1923 at the age of 45. In Stockholm, Lili not only practiced prostitution herself, but also attempted to turn it into some sort of business. Thanks to her telephone, she became a kind of hub for connecting clients and prostitutes. She selected other women for her clients and organized meetings. Clients called Lili directly, and she would either find them a suitable match or transfer them to another number where they could be matched with a prostitute more suited to their needs. Lili's telephone number was Vasa 10422. The police were aware of her activities. Suddenly, Lili disappeared. For several days, no one in the building at St. Eriksplan saw her. Her friend, 35-year-old Minnie Jansen, who lived in the apartment below, began to worry. When everyone realized that Lili hadn't answered the door or phone at any time of day, Minnie called the police. On May 4, 1932, the door to Lili's apartment was forced open, revealing a terrifying scene. Her naked body lay on the bed, wearing only socks and shoes. Her skull had been shattered by 3 blows from a heavy object. Lili's belongings were neatly arranged on a chair, and there was no sign of disorder in the room. On the contrary, it was unusually clean, as if the killer had deliberately tidied up after committing the crime. In the corner of the kitchen, police found a blood-stained towel, suggesting that the murderer had wiped away evidence. Clues found at the crime scene indicated that Lili had been in sexual contact with the presumed killer, likely up until the very last moments of her life. Saliva and bite marks were found on her neck and several other areas of her body. A used condom was still present in the rectum, according to some sources, or between her legs. However, no sperm was found in the condom. Police were puzzled that in a room so sterile and meticulously cleaned by the killer, the used condom was the only dirty and careless detail left behind. Some speculated that the killer left this as a message, though there was no concrete evidence to support this theory. Next to her body was a ladle. According to some reports, it was a sauce container, half filled with blood. The marks on the ladle suggested that some of the blood had been drunk. No fingerprints were found on the ladle. According to other sources, a single unidentified fingerprint was found, but its origin was never determined. The murder weapon was never recovered, and it is believed the killer took it with them. The ladle itself was ruled out as the murder weapon, as it was too light to inflict such blows. The police theorized that the ladle was used solely to collect blood. It was suggested that the killer, after initiating intercourse with the victim, knocked her out, opened her veins, drained her blood into the container, then cleaned the room and wiped away his traces with the towel. Nothing more is known about the killer, and there have been no similar incidents since. Had such a case happened today, the police would have had many more resources at their disposal. Most importantly, the ability to determine the killer's DNA from the saliva samples collected during the investigation. Modern investigative methods would have provided much greater clarity about what actually happened in Lily's apartment on the day of her murder. Unfortunately, such capabilities did not exist in 1932. All the police could do was search the area and interrogate 80 of Lily's former clients. 80 male contacts were found in Lily's address book. These efforts yielded no results. Lily's male friend, who spent evenings with her when she didn't expect clients, was also detained and questioned. He was later released due to lack of evidence. Minnie provided the investigators with the names of 8 of Lily's regular clients. Almost all of them were wealthy and reputable men, holding high-ranking positions. Some of them were married. Nearly all 8 men initially denied any connection with Lily, but later, at the police station, they confirmed their acquaintance. Most of them had solid alibis for the night of the murder. 2 men remained under suspicion, but their names were never disclosed to the public. In one Russian source, they are referred to as Magnus Stromberg and Nils Larsen. The first man was reportedly with the wife of the German ambassador to Sweden on the night of the murder, but he refused to provide details, citing moral reasons, even if it meant risking being accused of murder. The second was an elderly man, and the police doubted whether he had the physical strength to deliver the blows that killed Lily. The elderly man had no alibi. He claimed he spent the entire day at home. This could not be verified or disproven. Both men were released after questioning. Minnie recalled the events of that evening, April 30th. It was the eve of Walpurgis Night, a night associated with the ancient folklore of Germanic-speaking peoples, Germans, Austrians, and Scandinavians. When rituals to drive away witches are performed, homes are circled with torches, residents ring church bells, and evil spirits are exorcised. That evening, Minnie was visiting Lily. At 7:07 p.m., Lily received a phone call from a man with a strange voice, asking to speak to her. Minnie called Lily to the phone and then returned to her own apartment. The last thing Minnie heard was that the man was nearby and wanted to come over. Shortly after, Lily stopped by her neighbor's apartment to ask for a condom, then returned for another a bit later, explaining that the first one had broken. The second time she came down, Lily was naked except for a long coat thrown over her shoulders. She went back upstairs, and no one ever saw her alive again. The estimated time of the murder, April 30th, 1932, between 7:25 p.m. and 10 p.m. At 8 p.m. that same evening, Minnie knocked on Lily's door to invite her for a walk to Djurgården, a large island in central Stockholm and a popular recreational area. No one answered, and Minnie assumed her neighbor had gone out with her client. She returned to the door over the next few days, but the situation remained unchanged. On May 4th, the police broke down the door, and we returned to the moment of the body's discovery. The investigation began. Shocked by the brutal murder, the Swedish public was suspicious of the silence and the lack of suspects. Many speculated that the killer might have been someone connected to the police. Initially, the case was referred to as the Atlas murder. In no source was it called the Atlas vampire, and there were no references to vampires. The name Atlas vampire is considered a relatively modern invention. Whoever the Atlas vampire was, he is likely deceased by now, possibly even from natural causes. 86 years have passed since Lily's murder. If the killer had been, say, 18 years old at the time, he would be 104 years old now. Today, all the evidence collected in the Atlas vampire case is stored in the Stockholm Police Museum. Lily Lindström was buried in her hometown of Malmö on May 16, 1932, at Malmö Östra Kyrkogård Cemetery. The Atlas vampire case was suspended and later closed in 1954.